So remember the plan the Israelites had to take Ai in Joshua chapter 8. They had 30,000 soldiers, 5,000 of them went behind Ai secretly and camped out for a little over a day and just stayed there. The other 25,000 soldiers, led by Joshua, the next day, they were going to march towards Ai as if they were ready to attack it. Once the people of Ai would see Joshua and his soldiers coming, they would get excited because they defeated them once, so why not think they're going to easily defeat them again? They would empty themselves out of the city, go chasing after Joshua and the 25,000 Israelites, and when everybody was gone from the city of Ai, those 5,000 soldiers who were hiding, they would come in and they would take the city. Boom. Piece of cake, easy. So I want you to picture the 25,000 soldiers. They're marching with Joshua towards the city, eyes on the city, waiting to see what happens. And then the people of Ai notice them, and they rally the troops, and they start pouring out of the city. And at that point, if you're one of the 25,000 soldiers, you don't look at the city anymore. Then you turn around and you start running away in the other direction because you know that's your job, and you know you're a little bit safer that way. But as they're running away, being chased by the full force of their enemy that was up against them, I can picture them. Some smiles on their faces, maybe just kind of looking at each other, next to each other. It's like, it's like they don't know what's coming. It's like, we're about to win. And the reason they were going to win wasn't because they were going to see those other 5,000 soldiers take the city, but just because they knew it was happening, even though they couldn't see it. It's a pretty cool picture of what God does for us. We are being attacked by the full forces of hell, by the full forces of Satan. Everything that he has against us. Everything. Our own hearts work against us, inclined far too often to do everything that God just despises. And then we live in a world that is absolutely spiritually broken. It doesn't make it easier to trust in God. It doesn't make it easier to see him. It doesn't make it easy to get day to day with wars and suffering and pain. And the consequences that everybody has to live with from everybody's unloving actions. All of that is working against us, just like all of Ai was coming hard after those 25,000 soldiers. But we know the same thing that they did. At that very moment when everybody's coming hard after us, there's somebody who's working for us. And somebody who's working for us to give us the victory. And that's our God. Who doesn't cause bad things to happen, who doesn't love when sin shows itself at all. But man, he wants you to know that it's not going to get the best of you in the end. He is always working for us, many times behind the scenes without us being able to see it happening. That's the promise of Romans chapter 8. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. It's the promise we see carried out in so many places in Scripture. In the story of Joseph in the Old Testament, one of my favorite, sold by his brothers, more downs than ups on his way to Egypt, and then finally, after years and years of suffering and waiting and hurting, God showed that he's able to take anything, any situation, and use it not only to serve his people well, but to overthrow Satan. And that's what he's always doing. We can point to it happening many times in Scripture. We can point to it happening sometimes in our own lives. But many times we'll just need to point to the cross. When we can't see it happening with our eyes. When we're running away in the opposite direction and we can feel the full force of all of our enemies working against us. At those moments we remember the cross and we point one another to it. It's the day when we see God using all that he has and all that he is for your benefit. So many people didn't see it happening that day either. and yet God loving you, caring for you, and forgiving you, and saving you, and preparing a place just for you. That's exactly what was happening. Your God is always working for you. Rest well tonight, my friends.